Uh, so I will start with the Python introduction. Python is open source, object oriented, procedural, and it's easy to interface with C and other languages. Also, it's easy to interface with C++ via Swig, and it's very interactive environment. Here are the steps how we can download the Python, the documentation where we can refer, and the ebook. What is the current version is 2.6, and the latest one is 3.x. Now the next is the technical issue which we face while installing and running the Python. Uh, Python is pre-installed with the Mac OS and Linux. In Windows, we have to install the Python. Now, next part is the Python interpreter. So, interactive interface to Python. Here are the description. Python interpreter evaluates input the way it's shown in the example, like 3 is multiplied with 7 plus 2, and it shows the output as 27. uh, so how we can exit the Python by using Control D shortcut. Next is how we can run the Python on Unix, or Python program on Unix. We can use Python space file name .py. Py is the extension, file extension. So if we can make a .py file executable and add the following to the top to make it a runnable file. Next is batteries included. The large collection of proven modules included in the standard distribution. Here is the link. The next part is NumPy. It offers the matplot capabilities with Python. It also enable the fast array operation, 2D arrays, multi-dimensional arrays, and linear algebra. There is the where we can download the NumPy, and the tutorial link is provided. Now the next section is matplotlib. So it's a high quality plotting library as shown in the figure. It's a histogram which shows the distribution curve. So here are a few steps where we are importing the NumPy by using import NumPy as is the alias using np, import matplotlib, and then matplotlib.pyplot, which we use to plot the diagram. The next is we are assigning the mu and sigma value, and then we are calculating the x value. Then we are plotting the histogram of the data by using PLT. Then we are at a best fit line. We are plotting a best fit line. uh, we are giving the labels to the graph, give adding title, also providing the access credentials, and the grid value is also enabled so that we can see the dotted squares which shows the grids. And then at last this plt dot show will which generate the uh, which displays the output histogram graph on the screen. The next is pyfit, input output made it simple. So it's import pyfit. We are just we are opening a file, then we are getting the info. Here is the output. Then we are by using dot shape we are showing the rows and columns of the particular data frame. Also the data type is float by using the dtype dot name. The next section is the down for downloads, how we can download the. Now the next part is wrapper for astronomical packages like CasaPy, SPY, Gildes. This is Parcel Tongue, PYRef, PyMidas, PyIMSL. Now the custom distribution is Python XY and SIG. Here are the few links provided from where we can refer the SIG and the Python XY. The next is few astronomical link to explore more on IPython, SciPy, and AstroPy. The next is the basic, the code, the very basic Python. So here is we are calculating the x value. See, x is equals to 34 minus 23, and y is equals to hello, and z is equals to 3.45, which is a float value. So now if z equals to 3.45 and y equals to this, we are incrementing x value, and we are adding a word to y. It's a string, so this is string concatenation. Now we are printing both, so x value will be plus 1 as it's true, both the condition are true, and y will be hello world. So this is output, it's not shown here. Enough to understand the code. Now we have assignment operator is equal sign, in comparison is plus plus. We have few operators like plus, minus, multiply, module, and the division. Also we can use plus for string concatenation, and this module is for string formatting, as we do in this printf and C. Logical operators are and, or and not. These are not symbols. We can't use symbols in Python. We use and, or, and not. It's alphabetical form. The basic printing command is print here, and this first assignment to variable creates it. The variable type don't need to be declared. We don't need to write the type. It automatically takes, as suppose if we are declaring x equals to 1, so it's understood that x is integer, so we don't need to declare the variable type. It's automatically taken. Python can automatically figure out the kind of variable it is. Now the basic data type, we have integers. So if we do the division 5, division 2, it should be 2, because we need integer part here. Float is 3.45, like anything which is in decimal is a float value. String is it's specified, like uses by double quotes or single quotes. Unmatched can occur within the string, like we can have like multiple you can say quotes even within the string. We have triple quotes to show the when we have like quotes in middle of the string, then we need to use triple string, so that we can identify the string value, and it can contain like inside the string. Now white space is meaningful, like indentation is very much important when we are writing the code in the Python. New by to end a line of code, like we have to hash is used to write a comment, and whenever we are adding a new line, we use this backslash. We don't use braces in Python, but we use indentation. Then like whenever we have to instead of using this braces, we indent it often. So start of the often the colon appears in the start of a new block. Say we have function or the class definition, we have a colon. Comments we can use by hash or maybe triple quotes we can use. Document, apart from that, say there is a function which is my function. We have two parameters here. This is a comment. Also the comment can be shown as by using triple quotes, closing with triple quotes. Now we have assignment. assignment is binding a variable in Python. That means setting a name to hold a reference of some object. And name in Python do not have intrinsic type. Object have basically types. They have types. The type of the reference automatically is determined by the Python, like based on the data object which is assigned to it. And also you can create a name the first time it appears on the left side of the assignment. So say if we have x equals to 3, we are assigning x 3 value. The reference is deleted by garbage collection after any name bound to it have passed out of scope. So if it's out of scope, the garbage collection it will be deleted from garbage collection.
So now we'll be looking at accessing non-existent names. So if you just access a variable, you will have an error. Typically, what you should do is you should first assign the variable to some value and then access the variable. So here, as you can see, there is no error, but here there is an error since it's not defined earlier. Moving on to the next part, you can also assign multiple names at once. So like we saw in the other example, you can either do x equal to 2, y equal to 2, or you can do x comma y equal to this one. So it just makes your code shorter. Then there are some naming rules which are there which we need to follow. So when we have variable names, it's not supposed to start with a number. So they can usually have letters, numbers, and underscores, but it should not start with a number. So like some of the names that we can use is given as an example here. So when you're also naming variables, one thing that you should keep in mind is you cannot use reserved words. So these words here cannot be used while you name the variables. So here we we try to understand some reference semantics. Um, for example, here A is pointing to the list 1, 2, 3, and then you're assigning B to A, right? So which means that both of them here are pointing to the same list. So when you make some change to A, B also will change, right? So in Python, this is how referencing works. So that is by changing one variable, you can change the other variable also. So this just explains how the concept of referencing works, which I already explained. So it'll point to the same memory location, which is the reason one variable will change when we change the other variable. Okay, so yeah, so here it's just giving an, giving an example of how we interpret reference semantics. So we have a variable x, and when we increment x, exactly what's happening is that first it finds out the reference of the variable, and then after that it will update the value at that reference. So so now when the new value is done, it will have a new element which is assigned to another memory location, and the x will be changed to point to the new reference. So it will not point to the same reference which held its old value. So when you update a value of the variable, the reference also will get changed. Um, Now the old data is garbage collected if no name refers to it. So here, so for simple built-in data types, it is going to behave as we expect. So when we do x equal to 3 and when we assign y equal to x and change y equal to 4, x will still be 3. So in the other example which we saw, the value got updated when it came to lists, but here it will not get updated. So here is just the reason why it's not getting updated. So for the other data types, as we saw in the other example, when you type y equal to x, both of them will get changed. So this is why it happens. So when you do b equal to a here, both of them are referring to the same list, and that is the reason it is getting changed. Thank you.
Okay, so moving on to the next topic, which is sequence types. We will be covering the topics of tuples, lists, and strings. So the first type is a sequence types is the tuples. Tuple is a simple immutable ordered sequence of items, and items can be of mixed data types, including collection types. So you can also add like integer and character and string together in a tuple. Whereas going to the strings, strings are much like the tuples, but they are immutable, and they are used to represent a string. And the third sequence type is a list. Lists are mutable ordered sequence of items of mixed data types. So whereas the tuples and strings were immutable, the lists are mutable and you can change them. Similar syntax. All three sequence types have a similar syntax, and they share much of the same syntax and functionalities. The key difference between tuples and strings and lists are that that tuples and strings are immutable, whereas lists are mutable. And the operations shown in this section can be applied to all sequence types. So we'll move on to the operations next. So here you can see that for the sequence type 1, the tuples are defined using parentheses and commas, whereas the lists are used using square brackets and also commas, and the strings are basically defined by using single quotes or double quotes, as you can see in the example. Uh, Here is another example where you can see that to access a tuple, you can index it by using square brackets, and similarly for list and string you can do the same by indexing it using the square brackets. Positive and negative indices. So positive index counts from left, so it's counts from starting with 0 index, whereas the negative whereas the negative index, what it does is that it starts counting from the right. So if you want to access the last element of a list or a tuple or a string, you can use -1 as your index. So another property of sequence types is slicing. You can use slicing to basically get the subset of the sequence type. Here you can see in the example, uh, a set is being initialized, and you can use you can use slicing from starting from index 1 to 4, so you can get the subset of the sequence type. Moving on to the another example of slicing. Here you can see that you don't compulsorily need to define both the starting and the ending index. If you skip the starting index, it will start from the 0th index, and if you skip the ending index, it will stop at the last index. So if you want to copy the whole sequence, you cannot use an equal to sign, because that will just point towards the data type, but you can basically use a equal to sign, which can be seen in the example below. Here you can see that if you want to copy list 1 to list 2, you can just simply copy that using an equal to sign. and depending upon if you want to copy a whole list or uh, so yeah, if you want to copy a whole list, I'm sorry, you have to use you have to use slicing. As you can see here that there's a slice being mentioned over here with no starting and ending index. That means that it will copy the whole list to list 2. The in operator. The in operator is basically used to find to search for an element in a sequence type. So if in this example you can see that if you type 3 in t, there as there is no 3 in the sequence type in the list, so it will return a boolean value that is false. And if you query 4 in t, as there is 4 in the list, it will return a boolean true. The plus operator. The plus operator basically appends the second sequence type to the first sequence type, but for this there's a catch. Both the sequence type should be of the same type. For example, you cannot you can append a list to a list, a tuple to a tuple, and a string to a string. The star operator. The star operator produces a new tuple. uh, it basically appends the same tuple multiple times. It it multiples the number of times that you have mentioned. For example, you can see that set 1 2 3 is being multiplied 3 times, so it is being generated 3 times and being appended together. Mutability, tuples versus list. So as we saw that there's quite similarity between tuples and list. So here we will be seeing that the difference between them. So tuples are immutable, whereas lists are mutable. So what does that mean? That means that you cannot change a tuple after defining it, after initializing it. As you can see that you can get a type error if you do that, but for a list you can do that easily, and it will basically set that it will swap the position. uh, for example, there's a 23 at index number 1. So if you type in list 1 equals to 45, the 23 will be replaced by 45. So if you want to operate on list only, then you can use append and insert. But the append method, what it does is that the 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 append method appends the item to the end of the list. But whereas if you want to insert a item to a specific index, you can use the dot insert method, where it inserts the item to the specific index. The extend method versus the plus operator. So what does the extend method do is, extend method does not append the whole list as it is. It extracts individual element and then appends to the list. Whereas if you use the append method, then it will take the argument as a list, and it will append a list to a list. So if you don't want to do that, you can use the extend method. So here you can see that if you want to find the index of letter B, you can use L1 dot index, Li dot index, but there's a catch. It only finds the first occurrence of the letter. And if you want to count the number of occurrences of B, then you can use Li dot count. And if you want to remove the first occurrence of B, then you can use Li dot remove B. Okay, so here are operations on list part 4. If you want to reverse a list, you can simply use the reverse method, li dot reverse, that will do the job. And if you want to sort a list, then you can use li dot sort. And maybe if you want to place some function while sorting the list, you can use li dot sort, and you can pass in some function as an argument. So tuples versus lists. Lists are slower but more powerful than tuples, and lists can be modified, and they have a lot of handy operations. Tuples are immutable and have fewer features, but you can use if your functionality needs if your functionality needs immutability, you can use tuples. Okay, moving on to the next sequence types, which are dictionaries. Dictionaries are quite different from the sequence types that we discussed earlier. So dictionaries are basically a mapping of key and value pairs. So you can basically define, modify, view, look up, and delete the key value pairs in the dictionary, and it can come quite handy while solving some of the problems. For example, if you see over here that it is defined using a key value pair, and the key value pairs are separated by a colon, and individual key value pairs are separated by using commas. So if we look at some of the methods of dictionaries, you can see over here that if you use del, uh, delete, and you pass in the key value, then it will delete that particular key value pair. And if you want to delete the whole list, if you want to clear the whole list, you can use d.clear. If you just want to print the key values, then you can use d.keys. And if you just want to print the value pairs, then you can just pass in d.values. And if you want to print the whole dictionaries of in the form of tuples, then you can use d.items. Thank you.
Yeah, hi. So we're talking about dictionaries, which is the hash map implementation in Python. So dictionaries store a mapping between a set of keys and a set of values. So the keys can be any immutable type, means that they cannot be changed. The values can be any type, it can be integer, string, array, or an object as well. A single dictionary can also store values of different types. So you can have a single dictionary and have variables in it, or have values in it, which has an integer value, or you can store an integer variable or a dictionary variable in that, or a, yeah, you understand. So you can define, then modify, view, also look up and delete the key value pairs in dictionary. So you can access a particular element from the dictionary using a key, and you can access that value using that key. You can also modify, you can also look up. If you pass in the key value, you can look what the value is of that particular key in the dictionary. So this is using dictionary. This is an example. So you can access the values of a dictionary by using d, then in square brackets you can pass the key, and then you get the value. If you want to get all the values which are present in the dictionary, then you can, there is a function present in Python which is d.keys, so you can do so using that. Up next is functions. So the define keyword, def keyword, creates a function and assigns it a name. It also returns a result back to the caller, whoever is calling the function, right? Sometimes the return type can be null, or it can be integer, or any other data type. Arguments are passed by assignment. Arguments and return types are not declared. At least in Python they are not declared, but in other programming languages you require to declare the argument and the return type. Passing arguments to functions. Arguments are passed by assignment. Passed arguments are assigned to local names. Assignment to argument names don't affect the caller. Changing a mutable argument may affect the caller. You can define defaults for arguments that did not be passed. So sometimes your function is going to require arguments, but these arguments are going to be constant for all the values, right? So you can define them beforehand and set them as default. Yeah, modules. Up next is modules. Why use modules? So modules help reusing of code, reusage of code. routines can be called multiple times. Routines means functions can be called multiple times within a program, and routines can be used from multiple programs. Namespace partitioning, group data together with functions used for that data. Implementing shared services or data can provide global data structure that is accessed by multiple subprograms. Modules. Modules are functions and variables defined in separate files. Items are imported using from or import. From module import function or import module. And from that module, then you're importing the function. Modules are basically namespaces. Up next is classes and objects. So object. So a design that uses objects focuses on object oriented design, which is OOD or OOPM, object oriented programming model. So object oriented design focuses on encapsulation, dividing the code into a public interface and a private implementation of that interface, right? Then polymorphism, the ability to overload standard operators so that they have appropriate behavior based on the context. So you're going to have a class, and a separate other class is going to be importing from that class. So sometimes you want some attributes or some methods to be passed from the parent class to the child class. Sometimes, and you also need to have the ability to overload some of the operators or some of the attributes that have been passed from the parent to the subclass. So that is basically what polymorphism is. Inheritance, the ability to create subclasses that contain specialization of their parents. So that is exactly what I've been talking about. So sometimes you have a class, for example, take a class as vehicle. There are different kinds of vehicles. One can be car, one can be a motorbike, one can be a train. So all the vehicles are gonna be having a constant method or some kind of constant behavior that is moving in one direction, or a speed is going to be common. The number of wheels are going to be common, means that obviously the number of wheels are going to be different for different vehicles, but the behavior or the property number of wheels, that is going to be same for all vehicles. So in such a case, we require, what you do is you make a common parent class and you give all the common attributes, all the common behaviors in that parent class, and then you inherit from that parent class to the subclasses. So that is what inheritance is. So this is an example of inheritance, right? You have an atom class, you have an atom class, then you have a molecule class, and the molecule class is inheriting from the atom class. Yes, so that is it. Thank you everyone.